The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max Smackdown Review.
Hello and welcome to the Wrestling to the Max Smackdown Live Review for February 7th, 2017. I am your host, Sean Garmer. With me here, Mr. Paul Leazar.
Hey, yo.
Well, this is the go-home show to Elimination Chamber that takes place on Sunday. And they certainly let you know the matches that are going to happen on that show. If you didn't know before, you do know now. Certainly, as they did a lot of the things we talked about the week before. They set up the 3 women's matches that will be on. They set up a match with Dolph and with Kalisto and Apollo Crews, and they set up everything else. You know, the Elimination Chamber was pretty much, we knew the players, but they kind of had a few more things going here and everything else. So they started this show with Daniel Bryan coming out. It's been a while since we had really seen him like out in the actual ring area, really.
Mhm.
And he is there close to home. I think they're in
They're in
They're
Seattle.
in Seattle, yeah. So he's really close to home, where he's gonna be given some great celebration from the crowd. You know that, and then of course, you know, it wouldn't be a Bryan segment without the Miz coming out. So you know, the Miz comes out, makes fun of Bryan for a while, and then Baron Corbin comes out. You know, Baron Corbin pretty much tells Miz, you know, I don't care about you wanting to partner up with me. I'm just going to take you out right now. And then Mr. Ambrose comes out, and he makes fun of what Miz is wearing, because it wouldn't be Ambrose 7 without him doing something funny. And, of course, AJ comes out as well, and we get this tag match with, or no, it's not a tag match, it's a 4-way match with Miz, Dean Ambrose, AJ, and Baron Corbin. To kind of give you a little preview of Elimination Chamber. This was a really good match. A nice way to kick off the show after, you know, your regular talking segment. And Baron Corbin beats everyone. Do you feel like this is a little prelude to the Chamber? Is Baron Corbin going to be that guy that runs wild?
I don't know. I feel like this was something to at least try to get you thinking in that direction. It's something to at least make you think that, man, Baron looks really strong going into this. And admittedly, he does. He does win this off of sort of a distraction with the whole Maurice thing getting involved. But I think this really worked as far as building. Not only the opening segment, but the match does. I think he gets a nice interlude between everybody. Obviously, Baron is positioning himself with everybody. AJ is here to prove that he's AJ, and then Dean and Miz still having all their issues and whatnot. So I think you have a great mix of all that going on here, and I think they just look really great in this match. And if this doesn't get you excited for Elimination Chamber, I don't really know what else is going to.
Man, there was a lot of moving. I guess what you were doing there. I don't know I just keep hearing boosh, boosh on the microphone. Like it's cutting in and out or whatever, so I could hear half of what you said, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was doing that way. it was doing that towards the end of the podcast on Monday too. I don't know why. It's like it's that feeling of like all of a sudden you're like getting close to it, not close to it, and it keeps like giving static while you do it too. It's weird. So yeah, I mean this match was definitely as far as wrestling goes, I think the thing to watch from SmackDown, because everything else was sort of you didn't get the I didn't think you didn't get the promised epic confrontation with John Cena and Randy Orton that they were making it out to be beforehand. Uh, Especially once you had not Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper cut that actually pretty good promo where he says, you know what, I never had anything to lose, and I know I've seen the snake in the grass many times, and I know you're a liar, and I'm not going to just cut the head off the viper. I'm going to eliminate you, Randy Orton. Well, okay. They could have done without the pun, I guess, but hey, you got Luke Harper and Randy Orton for Elimination Chamber. So that's good.
Yeah, and this might be as close as we ever get to seeing Randy and Cena go at it again, because if all goes to plan of what we've heard on the internet, then it's going to be Bray walking out with the championship. And I think that's the smart move here. I think there's a lot going on here for Luke and Randy to really have a great match, too. So I'm really looking forward to that one almost as much as I am the Chamber.
Yeah, and I mean the match I don't think had the same sort of like epic feeling either with the crowd or anything like that. I mean it was a good match,
Mm-hmm.
fitting I guess typical WWE main event thing, but it was really more kind of here to set up the Luke Harper showing up, having some moments there with Bray, and then knocking him down, and then Bray taking out, Bray took out somebody.
Cena.
And yeah, he took
He
out
went to
Cena.
throw him into Randy. Randy went for the RKO. Cena pushes him away, and then he eats Sister Abigail.
Yeah, but then John Cena comes back, hits that AA, and beats Randy Orton. So, your champion not losing, which makes sense, because in any other setting that wasn't John Cena, we'd be saying that. So I think that's certainly fair. But yeah, I mean, so overall, I think you didn't really need to hype the Chamber up too much, because you know what that is.
Right.
And if anything, they were hyping up more the danger of the Chamber than necessarily, okay, these guys are going to be in the match and what's going to happen and whatever. I think that sells itself. You don't have to really do much for that.
And JBL also wouldn't shut up about a new look for it either. So I think that's something to keep an eye on, see if the Chamber looks different or if it's taller or whatever else you have going on there.
That makes sense, because they've now said the whole, well, it only happens once a year. So this has to mean that they figured out a way to where they can do this in the newer buildings now.
Mm-hmm.
Where they can have this annually again. So yeah, it's going to have to look some kind of different, right? Because that was the problem. That thing was such a monstrosity before that they couldn't have it in the new buildings.
Right.
So we'll have to, that's going to be a thing to watch out for that Elimination Chamber. How does it look? Is it going to be any different as far as, it's still going to have those plexiglass panels? You're still going to have those things there where it's an awkward jump to try to jump off of it, but they're there. Is anything that we aren't used to with Elimination Chamber going to be there? Those are, things to look out for Sunday. But continuing on with this show, we had the first ever dual contract signing. And wouldn't you know, 2 women's matches being showcased here in this contract signing. Honestly, between Monday with the contract signing, then we get contract signing on SmackDown. All that was left was like 205 Live to sign the contract of the 205 Live match after the match. And then you have contract signing on every show. I just feel like WWE just, when they really want to do something, they go on it with these contract signings. But you know what? For being a contract signing, this was actually really good. You had, Mickey cut a promo stating, her case for, why she's here, and the same stuff that we've heard her say, but it just makes sense much more in this context. And then, Becky showing that fire. You got Alexa Bliss doing the whole, I didn't know you were here, Naomi thing. And Naomi is, just telling her stop being foolish and that, well, you're going to know her name when she beats her on Sunday, which, fair enough. And then we get to the big brawl.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go.
I enjoyed this a lot. I thought that Mickey was a little, I think she's still finding her way back on the microphone again, right? 'Cause she sounded very breathy, and she seemed to want to stretch out syllables way too often. And I get
think
what
it's
she was
the
kinda,
whole having to adjust to being scripted, So I think
maybe.
she's trying to make sure she gets things in. I don't know, and then also trying to do it slow because she's a heel and whatever. I don't know. I totally get what you're saying though. That was like, I was like, okay, we're going into Charlotte territory almost here.
It felt super odd to me, and I don't know. The content of the promo was fine. It just, her delivery was odd. Becky was great. I thought Alexa was great. Naomi was good for the little bitch that she has too. She's another one who hasn't had a lot of microphone time either, I feel like, and so hers is typical rah-rah babyface stuff. But I think it works for the character she's got going for her. I'm really looking forward to both these matches, though. I think Becky and Mickey's going to be really good, and I think Alexa and Naomi can surprise so long as they don't try to do too much, because we've seen Naomi get a little botchy at times whenever she goes for all the big stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree. Naomi's just gonna have to understand that you can't try to do everything in one match. Just save it for some other things. Let's have something good here. And Alexa's getting better, but she's not the big pro that some of the other ones are.
Right.
So just be careful not to try to kill each other here. And I mean, if they're not doing it, Nikki and Natalya sure are, because that's all they do in this feud is try to kill each other. But they had they score off on a backstage split screen promo where they pretty much kind of go after each other again with the whole, Nikki, you turned Brett against me. Nikki, you have no friends. Natty, you're crazy and old and bitter, and all this, and that Cena's gonna leave her again, and what, pretty much the same stuff we've heard, but it kind of comes to a hilt again on Talking Smack when Natalya just, for lack of a better word, smacking Nikki into the big set that they have there for the big podium thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's even so bad they had to show Cena on Talking Smack when he comes on, which I think hints towards that proposed mixed tag match, I think, more than anything. That's really the first time that Cena's really ever acknowledged anything with Nikki, especially when it comes to storyline that's happening where he needs to act like he's the concerned boyfriend. That never happens with John Cena, so very interesting from that point of view of seeing Cena in a different kind of mindset there. But I'm also excited for this Nikki Natalya thing because they need to be beating each other as much as they do this in promos and surprise segments on SmackDown.
Yeah, I kind of hope they do the same thing they did with Nikki and Carmella, where you have Daniel Bryan come out and make it no DQ or something like that, just because I feel like it would fit. And all the other segments that they had done before this, I felt like they were at least coming from a place where the characters felt like what they were saying was genuine. This felt like a big, face-to-face confrontation that you would have on Jerry Springer or something like that, where you're just being super catty and trying to cut deep just to cut deep for no other reason than to do it. And I don't know. This didn't strike as well with me as the other ones did. The attack on Talking Smack, though, I was totally down with. Like, that was violent, and I think exactly what has been a hallmark of this feud so far, and that's just them pretty much beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta do the no DQ thing with them,
Mm-hmm.
because all the thing has been is them just, hey, let's go attack each other backstage, wherever it is. They had the Attitude Era segment where they attacked each other backstage. Even, it's set up for that kind of thing. I'm surprised they didn't make that something known here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially with 3 women's matches on a card, you might want to do something to differentiate them a little. Obviously, I know they don't want to go overboard with that, but the women's title, and then you have the vets match, essentially, and then you can have this fun little brawl here.
Yeah, so the women played a big part on this show, as they will on Elimination Chamber, having 3 matches. And I think the only things that we haven't talked about are the tag division here, with the 12 man that they had going on here, and I felt like they did a good job of highlighting some of the lesser tag teams, with the Ascension of all people getting wins, and they looked good in this match.
I think they looked good. I think it was hard to tell who was really getting the better of this at any point in time, just because it was so very fast moving, almost to the point where you couldn't really keep straight what was happening at times.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm okay with sort of how this is going, because if you can build one of the teams that maybe hasn't gotten a lot of shine, like the Fashion Police or the Vaudevillains or the Ascension or something out of this, to at least get another team going, I think you could call this a success. But so far, I don't know if we've really gotten anything other than American Alpha is going to dominate all the teams, and we're just going to sort of be left with, well, who's left,
Yeah, it's hard to think of anything too, because of the fact of, okay, well, the one team you're hoping shows up here is the Revival or whatever, but with the injury situation in NXT, that seems like that's not happening. So I don't know what you really have to look forward to, other than, okay, American Alpha's going to beat them. What are we going to have, the Usos and American Alpha number 20 again? Because we have nothing else? This is one of these things that this is where the lack of a division kind of shows, that you don't have a lot of teams that are built up well. And then, not to mention, at one point they were separating Slater and Rhino, and then all of a sudden they had to act like nothing was happening between the two, because they realized, oh crap, we don't have any teams.
It makes me curious if maybe we'll get Apollo and Kalisto tossed into this sort of revolving carousel of tag team challengers once they're done with Dolph.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a 1 or a 2 off,
Yeah, for WrestleMania, I'd be fine with it. If WWE knew how to have people involved in 2 different things at once, I would be fine with it, because I feel like if Apollo's really going to get something out of this feud with Dolph, him continuing to be a singles guy and finally getting to go up the ranks would be really good for him. But, if they're not really going to do much out of it, then being in a tag team and maybe getting tag team title shots wouldn't be too bad for him and Kalisto. It would certainly give Kalisto something to do if they're never going to put him on 205 Live.
Yeah, and I mean, both of them in the Intercontinental title hunt would be great again, too. Now that they're doing what they're doing with Luke, I feel like he's going to be bound for that championship sooner rather than later, so.
Yeah, championship Luke has, held before. So
Yeah.
And, him and Ambrose have had battles for that belt to force. So, gonna see if that's gonna happen again. This is one of those things with SmackDown of how are they gonna be able to fix this? Who can they bring? I think I've made it known that me personally, I almost don't want the Revival to come here because we've seen them have matches with American Alpha. I almost want them to go to Raw because they would be the perfect foes for like New Day and we've seen them with Enzo and Cass, but I think on the bigger stage of the main roster they would be great too. That's the thing. NXT is also kind of short on the tag team deal as well. So, to the point that they did, I think, officially debut the Bollywood Boys down there because they realized, oh, well, we need to get more tag teams there too. So, this is one thing that WWE's kind of been struggling with, and that might be a mission for 2017, get the tag division in WWE fixed.
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying that for how long, though, right? I mean,
but they did have a point where they had a good set of tag teams or whatever, and then all of a sudden, like, the brand split happened, and that's what got destroyed the most was the tag team scene.
Yeah. And I mean, splitting the women's division, I think, has been something they've had to try to fight back from, too, and that's seemingly starting to at least get on track across SmackDown. At least, I don't know about Raw, is a little bit more hit or miss, but And I question whether they can do it. They've struggled seemingly with tag teams ever since I've been watching wrestling, and that's been since the early '90s because they've had lots of peaks and valleys, and usually it's more valleys than peaks.
Yeah, certainly. Everybody remembers, the Attitude Era tag team thing, and then you had this lull, and then I think like they had a little section in the Ruthless Aggression era where the tag teams were really a showpiece, and then it died again, and so it should be that time. Let's move it on with the tag teams. And speaking of tag team, like Paul mentioned, Ziggler is now in a handicap match, 2-on-1, Apollo and Kalisto against Ziggler after he lost to Apollo in a very short match on this show. Makes sense from everything that's been happening.
Yeah, I mean they've essentially just been trying to get heat on Dolph, and I don't know if any of the live crowds particularly cared because they haven't been given a lot of reasons to care about Apollo and Kalisto, and they still haven't really given you a whole lot to do so yet. So really hoping that Elimination Chamber is this great shot in the arm for him, but I'll remain hesitant until they pull something off with these guys.
I just don't know how the handicap match for the heel works.
I mean, it's sort of. I mean, he's been beating these guys up, and they've had him come out and at least try to hold each other's back. And I guess thinking that
2-on-1 and the heel is the one.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think it works in this situation just because Dolph has been beating them both up, right? And so this is supposed to be the authority figure trying to give him a break, and like, here you go, guys, go get him.
But are people really gonna cheer for Apollo and Kalisto?
I don't think people are going to give a shit about it in general. That's the point I was trying to make.
I mean, I know what you're saying. If you're really trying to do something with this and you've dedicated time on TV for this, I mean, but I mean, you could have done that in a triple threat and then just had Apollo and Kalisto decide that they wanted to have a match against each other while Dolph is down or something.
I don't think they want to sacrifice the idea of friendship there.
Fair enough. We spend probably more time thinking about this than they have. So.
Willing to bet a couple of hard dollars on that one.
But yeah, that's surprisingly everything that was on SmackDown this week. It was really an easy watch. Felt like it went by really fast. And we talked about the opening match was sort of if you wanted wrestling to watch, that was the match to see. But it wasn't great or anything. I'd put in the very good category. And yeah, nice build to Elimination Chamber. Yeah, Chamber could be one of those where you're not thinking much of it going in, and it totally delivers, or it could just be one of those one-match shows, with the Chamber being the thing you're talking about.
I enjoyed this show a lot too. I think there's a lot of good takeaways from this. It's another one of those SmackDowns, much like Raw this week, where every segment's building towards something. Everybody is sort of getting a little bit of shine here. I think the contract signing was a great success. The opening segments were great, and the Wyatt family drama continues to be some of the most compelling stuff on WWE television these days. The only thing you're really missing is the continual great wrestling that Raw had, so I'm going to give it a 7.
I think for me, there was some good build for here as far as Elimination Chamber. You set up some matches. You officially set up matches. I'm not particularly a big fan of officially making matches the week before, but it's WWE staples what they do.
It's also a 2-week build.
Yeah, but this is one of those times like we knew what the feuds were. It's just them officially saying, okay, these matches are happening. And like Paul said, when you get 2 weeks, you get one week to figure everything out, and then the next week you got to start making everything already.
It's go home already. Yeah.
It was it's like I said, a good show, easy watch, and I don't know if I can go 7. I'll say like 6.5 or something.
Fair enough.
And that's going to be your SmackDown live for this week. Hopefully, like we said, got to spend the time to watch Elimination Chamber. Hopefully it delivers. And we'll have some definite things to talk about on that Sunday. W2M Extra will be reviewing the show. Of course, you don't want to miss the 205 Live review we're about to do, and the episode 233 part 2, where we're going to be, of course, previewing that Elimination Chamber, giving our predictions and everything, doing a New Japan, New Beginning in Osaka preview, which that show looks absolutely killer with so many great matches potentially on the cards. And then you've got some other things. I'm sure there will be more on this Noah and TNA partnership that basically, as soon as the show was over on Monday, we got the big news, but then nothing along with it. So hopefully there's more on that and everything else. So until next week, it'll be the after Elimination Chamber show. Later, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.